So Christ is using a parable to communicate a truth. So I'm asking you, what truth about Allah's light is communicated by comparing it to an olive? So I'm going to explain his point, and then I'm going to answer his point. Yeah? But try and listen. Now notice, he's lost all control now. He's lost all self-control. Lost all self-control. He's lost all sinful control.
Thank you very much.
Right? So now, bro, you asked a question, you're not going to listen to the answer. So, the point.
All right, thank you very much, mate.
So the point that we're talking about.
All right, thank you.
The point that we're talking about is that this brother is trying to argue that the New Testament doesn't teach that salvation is for the whole of the world.
I'm going to invite you for
and I've just shown. Will you stop interrupting? Please stop being rude. Stop being rude. So he's lost all self-control. So the passage that I showed him was that our vision of heaven includes the whole of humanity. And then he quoted a passage that talks about a specific group. And what he didn't realize is that the passage he quoted is a subcategory of a larger group that I was demonstrating. And the subcategory that I quoted is this one in Revelations 5:9-10. Listen, you are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slaughtered, and for your blood you ransomed for God saints from every tribe and language and people and nation. Now, does that include the world or not?
Yes, it does.
There you go. You see, this is a guy with a brain. That guy not thinking. He's just repeating a script. Now, I want to talk to you about something. Separate topic. New topic. The topic.
What was your good name?
The topic, Bob.
What was your good name?
Bob.
What's your good name?
Bob.
Bob, honestly, I will invite you for a cup of tea.
Thank you. Let's do that. Great.
Honestly, and we have a proper debate. Which book which actually give you salvation? The Bible or this book?
Great.
You have no
Let's do
salvation in the
that.
Bible.
Let's do that.
Promise.
Fantastic.
We can have
So,
this.
here's the question that I want to ask you.
All right, salam.
Okay? In the Qur'an, in Surah 24.
By the way, disclaimer, I may not have the answer to this, so...
Fine. You know and I know that Allah can't be compared to anything in His creation. Agreed? Do we all agree He's... Well, just say it for the... Yes or no? Can Allah be compared to His creation?
It depends.
Depends on what?
Because the attributes of Allah...
Yeah. You hold it.
The attributes of Allah can be found in the world again. But the essence of God can't be compared to anything.
You hold.
Oh, sure. So yeah, for example, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Not Rahim, but Rahman, for example.
Yep.
Someone can be merciful.
Yep.
Someone can be just, you know. Yep. So in that sense, you can compare... mirroring God in that sense.
So are you saying that what we can think of or imagine is like Allah?
No,
No.
Anything Abu Bakr says, anything that you think Allah is not.
Did you hear that? Anything you think Allah is not.
But what is it though?
Right.
No, but it's very nuanced.
Okay, so
you have to ask me, what do you mean by that?
No, I don't.
Well, then you don't understand.
I don't need to ask that question.
No, but then you don't understand.
Need to dictate my questions.
No, because you know why? Because you're going to make a grave mistake now.
So you can correct me. Well, you have just said that what you think Allah is, He is not.
Yeah, but what does that mean? What does that mean?
And when I said...
No, what does that mean? What do you understand by that?
Shall we do this interrupting, shouting thing?
No, we're having a conversation. We're having a conversation. I'm asking you, I made a statement.
We're going to do a conversation.
No, but you're
right, let's time it. Time it.
You're controlling the conversation.
Let's time it. We're going to time it.
You're controlling the conversation.
I'm going to give you control. I'm going to give you 3 minutes.
I'm asking you.
Okay.
Since you asked me a question,
so you can explain it. There you go.
Okay.
When you're ready.
He's asked me a question.
Are you ready? No, he's not ready yet. When you're ready, you explain it.
This is too formal. But
3 minutes. Go on.
Since you've asked me, I'm asking you, what do you understand by that statement?
You've got 3 minutes.
Yeah. What do you understand by that statement? No, I'm asking you.
No, explain it.
No, I'm not doing this. Thank you. You're not controlling the conversation here, my bro. We're having a normal conversation. I told you before, I like talking to you, but when we do this theatre, I don't like this theatre. We can have a normal conversation, man to man, trying to determine the truth. We don't have to do this theatre thing.
So when you said that Allah can't be compared to anything in His creation, and Abu Bakr said Anything you think Allah is, Allah isn't.
Yeah.
So I want you to answer me this question.
Sure.
In the Quran, it says, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. The parable of his light, as it were, is as if there were a niche and within it a lamp, and the lamp enclosed in glass, and the glass, as it were, a brilliant star. What does the word glass and star mean in that verse?
I'm gonna have to look. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to read the tafsir. I know of the verse, but I can't explain to you.
Can you pull the tafsir up?
Does anyone have the internet on my phone?
Okay, so let's just go off your earlier statement. Your earlier statement was, what I can think of or imagine is not Allah. So, everything that I think of as glass as being is not Allah, agreed?
Yeah, but are you assuming, so you know that verse that you just read?
Yeah.
Are you taking this verse literal? It's not like a literal thing. So you think that Allah is literally glass or the star, or is this a parable?
So
Allah says also in the Quran, Allah
it's a parable.
Allah also says in the Quran, he's not afraid to use parables.
Yeah.
He uses parables as a tool of communication.
Yep.
Because he has to speak in a language that we understand.
Brilliant.
But when Abu Bakr says anything that Allah is, you think Allah is not.
Yep.
What he meant by that statement is that essentially you cannot grasp God. Anyone would agree with that.
Okay, so let us address
Did
this
you
point.
understand what I said?
I understood what you said.
Okay.
So what we've got here is the brother has just said that Allah uses parables to communicate, which means that glass should mean something, star should mean something, that a blessed tree should mean something, and an olive should mean something. So great. And it says that the Quran explains everything in detail. So I want to know, when Allah in this parable is comparing himself, that's one of his attributes, light, to a glass, a niche, a star, a tree, an olive. What does an olive mean in this parable? Tell me. Because here's my contention to you. If, as you have said, and you have confirmed, that Allah is not like anything in his creation, then these words are meaningless. And you just said that he uses parables to communicate, so this communication is meaningless.
What is a parable?
A parable is a picture metaphor that communicates a truth. Jesus used them all the time.
So what's the problem with that?
So the problem is, I'll do a comparison. When we compare Jesus' parables, he used parables all the time about himself. The unjust judge, for instance, is a parable telling us that we should be persistent in prayer, like the widow that constantly barraged the unjust judge. Because even though he didn't care about right and wrong, because she would not stop wearing him out, he granted her request. So 1 second, you asked me a question, I'm answering it. So Christ is using a parable to communicate a truth. So I'm asking you, what truth about Allah's light is communicated by comparing it to an olive?
But that's not a parable. You didn't use a good example.
It does say it. It says it right. The parable of his light. That's what it says right there.
Parable is
right. Says it.
Parable is something when you use an imagery or symbolic imagery.
Yes.
To explain a greater truth in the statement. So, for example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let me use parables. You know that we use parables all the time. You know,
yeah.
There's raining dogs and cats, right? That's the parable. So a parable is not an unjust judge, but it's something where you use an imagery or a symbol, and then you combine it to convey something. Because language has its limits, so you have to use parables to explain things that sometimes are very difficult to explain in plain language.
Yeah.
Whenever Allah says He's the light, to me that's very, very obvious. Allah is here saying that guidance is with Him. You know, truth is with Him, because light denotes clarity. Light denotes safetiness, because in darkness you don't know what you encounter in darkness. Light denotes. Someone help me. There's many things that light denotes, right?
Okay,
sustenance.
I want to let you finish.
Sure.
So, here's the problem. You said that this is a bad example because it's not a parable.
No, not this.
1 second. It literally says the parable of his light is as if there were a niche and within it a lamp, the lamp enclosed in glass. The glass as it were a brilliant star, lit from a blessed tree. An olive, neither of the east nor the west. So, let me finish. So it is a parable.
No, not that.
No, that's exactly what we're talking about. 1 second. And the parable compares Allah's light to an olive. It says an olive. So I want to know what is being communicated by the word olive, especially in light of the fact that Abu Bakr says anything that you can think of as being Allah is not Allah. So if I think of an olive, I can't think of an olive about Allah. But yet Allah is using an olive to describe himself.
Just to correct you, I didn't mean that wasn't a good parable. I was meaning the example you used as the unjust judge. That was a bad example.
No, it's a parable.
Okay, anyway, but
literally says it's a parable.
I think you're doing the same mistake you've done about 2 months ago when we had a conversation. And it was about the chain of Allah and all these things that you were bringing up. So basically, you're reading this text over there, the Qur'an in front of you, and you're sort of being very literal about it by saying, well, Allah is referring himself as the light, Allah is referring himself as the olive trees. Is that being literal here? Is Allah literally the olive tree? No, of course not. He's not saying that he's the olive trees, nor is he referring to any three-dimensional objects. He's using...
I just want to say that the light here means the guidance.
I've already said this. I already said that to him.
So he's trying to make something which is not.
No, it's already recorded. We said it already. We're just repeating. But what I'm trying to say is that he's again here. It's just using language to point at something greater in meaning.
Okay, so you haven't actually answered my question, because I didn't ask about the light. I asked about the olive.
I don't know.
And that's the point.
I don't know the symbolic significance.
Let me finish. I listened to you. Let me finish.
I'm not actually finished.
Okay. You stopped. I thought you were finished.
No, you interrupted. What I'm trying
he interrupted actually.
Well, that was before that. But what I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make is, first of all, and that's the reason why I didn't want to talk to you about it, because I don't know this verse well, so I can't talk about it. You've underlined it, done weeks of research, and you ambushed me, in a sense. So I can't really.
That's fair.
Yeah, so
that's exactly what happened.
So I can't really pay justice to this conversation, but I can look into it. And
please come back next week.
Yeah.
But my point to you is this, right? If these words don't mean anything that we can think of or imagine, then these words are meaningless. Which means that if they don't have a point of reference that actually communicates something, then that means that what we're reading is Allah is the blaw of the heavens and the earth, and the parable of his blaw is as it were a blaw, and within it a blaw, the blaw enclosed in blaw, the blaw as it were a brilliant blaw, lit from a blaw, and a blaw. Blaw in English it's just like a blanket word. It doesn't mean anything. It means exactly what you want it to mean.
I've never come across.
Yeah, it just, if I say blah blah, it means you're not saying anything. Or if I say blah blah, it means you can fill those words in with whatever you want. So the point that I'm making to you is that within Islamic theology, there's a fundamental contradiction. It asserts one thing: Allah is not like anything that he created, whilst asserting another thing, that he has a light that is the parable of which is like a star, a lamp, a glass, an olive, a tree. And these things, you can't hold these two things in tension. These words have to mean something. Or, 1 second, so you either have to abandon the idea that these words can't mean what they reference, or you have to abandon the idea that this is clear guidance because it's using these words. Now, you used an Ash'ari defense. This idea that the light is a metaphor for something else.
But
right?
Is it
1 second.
Sorry.
But as I understand it, you do evangelism with Ali Dawah. Ali Dawah is a Salafi, and he would assert that the light is a real thing, not a metaphor, not to be communicated as being something else, but simply something that we can't explain.
That's the worst.
So which are you, Ash'ari or Salafi?
I don't know. I'm not like neither, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but let me tell you something, right? Does this verse actually say that it's a parable itself? Does it quote it?
It literally says, the parable of his light.
Well, that's the answer, though.
So what's the parable? What does olive mean? What does tree mean?
So, first of all, it says the parable, right?
Yes, that's never been disputed.
Sure. What is the parable?
At no point have I disputed that.
Lights, the stars. For example, something very interesting. The Arabs used to associate loads of importance to the stars because they would use them to navigate through the deserts, and they would also like superstitiously believe that the stars have an impact on. So if we philosophize about that verse, it could also mean that the stars do not influence the world, but it's the light, who God is, influences the world, and it's God who guides you through darkness. And look at this, very interesting. So the lamp, darkness, stars. So when do we see the stars? When it's dark, right?
Yep.
When there's no sun, they're deprived. So
yep.
God is guidance when you're in compasses, or when you're surrounded by darkness. You know, God in His message and His revelation represents guidance in darkness. It could mean that as well. So I need to look at this verse, but kudos to you. You find quite interesting verses also, I must say.
So let's advance the argument. My question is, in the Quran, in the Hadith, in Sahih al-Muslim, al-Iman, Hadith number 261, narrated by Abu Dar, it states this: I asked the messenger, did you see your Lord? He replied, how could I see him? He is veiled in light. So my question is the light that veiled Allah created or uncreated?
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Okay.
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
How? Let me ask you another question. Does this not suggest doesn't this suggest in any way that we play it that either one attribute of Allah can restrict another attribute of Allah, or that something that Allah creates can restrict His attribute?
I don't even understand what you're saying, to be honest.
Maybe if I quote this one to you, Sunan Ibn Majah, Hadith number 195, the book of Sunnah, grade Sahih, because I know you guys love Sahih. It states this: His veil. Everybody know what a veil is? His veil is light, and if He were to remove it, the glory of His face would burn everything of His creation as far as His gaze reaches. So what I mean by one attribute, or something restricting the other attributes, the face and the glory of Allah are His attributes. The gaze of Allah is His attribute. So the veil is restricting this glory.
I see now. I understand what you're saying.
So, have we got here evidence of something either uncreated that belongs to Allah? It is Sahih. It is Sahih. The thing is, different scholars have different opinions about which hadiths to believe in. No, I'm not lying. It's Sahih. It's Sahih. The thing, right? Why you joke? No, it is Sahih. The reality is, because different scholars. One second. Do different scholars give different gradings to different hadiths? Yes, they do. Did you all hear that? Different scholars give different grading to different hadiths. So he believes in his scholar, and the two scholars may disagree about which. Bro, he already has said that they do that.
Who says Sahih? Which scholar says Sahih?
Bro, he's already given the fact.
Hassan is still acceptable.
Thank you. So even if it's Hassan, which is his grading of his scholar. One second. You can pull it up on the internet. I'll give you the reference. So the reality is that we've got a hadith that is talking about the attributes of Allah being restricted by something.
Bro, I'll be honest with you, this is way above my weight.
Pay grade.
Yeah, I can't answer this.
You need to ask Ali Dawah for a rise.
I don't even think he can answer this, but I'm going to have to go in. Okay.
Yeah? It's very nice talking to you.
Thanks.
Have I given you a book?
You have before, yeah.
I would like to give you another book because there's a pleasant conversation, and I like to have a pleasant conversation with people. So let me give you. I'm going for a break after this, bro.
And when Allah says His light, Allah's light means guidance. If you follow His light, you'll be guided.
Oh, what am I doing?
That doesn't mean that light is Allah. That's exactly. Many places Allah will give the light in darkness for you to be guided. So He's just trying to make that light means Allah. No, His light means His just guidance.
There you go.
That's what it is.
Oh, actually, let me get you a different book.
Complicated,
Sorry.
but they are not.
There you go.
Thanks, my bro.
You look after yourself. That was a really pleasant conversation. Thank you very much.
His light. If you follow his light, you will be guided. And Allah is comparing his light with that particular light, which come from that lamp. In that lamp, there's oil come from a particular tree, which is an olive tree. It's talking about if you have that leaf, a bright glass leaf with that particular oil, and the light comes out of that in the darkness, how beautiful that light is. This is how Allah's light, which is guidance, is so beautiful that will guide you in your darknesses.
So the light
This is what it means. It's all talking about that
Did you stick that bottle in the back?
That oil comes from that particular tree. That particular tree is an olive tree, and in that niche, which is a beautiful glass, in that glass, when you light, you see that light in the darkness, how beautiful that light is. This is how Allah's light, which guide people in their darknesses. This is how beautiful Allah's guidance is. That's what it all means. It doesn't mean that Allah is that light. You get my point?
So Allah is not the light. The
In
light
the
is the
same,
guidance.
I'll read you another verse.
One second, because I'm actually going to go for a break. So, like, I've been talking all day, bro.
That's fine.
I've been talking all day.
That's
So
Are you
yeah, but he
Next time maybe.
So yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah.
So the point that I've made, what you should understand about our brother here, is that he's condemned by the other Muslims in the park as being a heretic.
Really?
Because he's a Mutasilite.
I'm not.
He believes in
I'm not.
you believe that the Quran is created or eternal.
I don't say Mutasalite are wrong in any way. I don't say Shias are wrong in any way. I don't say
Bro,
Sufis are wrong in any way.
We've got Mansoor, we've got the others challenging you on your beliefs.
I'm a Muslim,
Yeah.
and I take wherever I find the truth. Doesn't matter where it come from. So if I'm Mutasalite says something right, I agree with Mutasalite on
And
that.
do you believe this Quran was created?
I believe the word of Allah is uncreated, but there's a time and space when the Quran was recited. Because Quran means the recital. So whenever it was recited, that's the beginning. So I said Quran has a beginning.
So these words are created.
Quran has a beginning.
So these
Quran-
words are created.
Sorry?
These words are created.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. There was a time and place when the Quran was recited, because the Quran means something to be recited.
Yeah.
So that's why I say Quran has a beginning. That's why I say.
Is this created?
If something has beginning,
What
of
do you mean
course.
by created?
Because
As in it had a beginning.
When Allah spoke, actually you're changing the topic
Yeah.
right now.
Well, because
Let's-
you jumped into a conversation, and
No,
I'm
he
going on a
invited
break.
me. He just invited me.
Yeah, well,
Invited me.
I'm going to stop, bro, because
No
I've been
problem, no
talking
problem.
since whatever
Anytime,
time I arrived.
anytime,
I'm going to go for a break.
anytime, no problem.
We'll talk again.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you, Baz. We'll do a quick wrap up from the previous.
Yeah, let's do a quick wrap up.
Right, what happened there, Bob?
So we spoke about a surah in the Quran and hadiths that are sahih. And this surah in the Quran talks about Allah's light. And it gives a parable that compares an attribute of Allah to things that are created, such as a lamp, a star, a tree, an olive. But Muslims believe that nothing that you can think of about Allah is Allah. So therefore, these words can't mean what you imagine them to mean, which means that they don't mean anything at all. But the Quran says that it's clear guidance. We also read a hadith that says that Allah's attributes were restricted by something that he has either created or by another one of his attributes, the veil of Allah, the light of Allah, that restricts the glory of his face. Well, if Muslims have that belief that the glory of Allah can be restricted, then what objection can they have to Christians who believe that the divinity of Christ was restricted in him taking on flesh?